Hello dear friends. Welcome back to our English learning journey. My name is Noyan, and today you are going to listen to a long, calm, and meaningful story created especially for English learners like you. This episode is designed to help you improve step by step. The language is slow, the sentences are clear, and the ideas are deep but simple. As you listen, you will hear many useful words for daily life. I will explain these words in very easy English right after you hear them. So you do not need to stop the audio. You do not need to open a dictionary. You only need to relax, listen, and learn. Before we begin, I want to say something to you. If this lesson helps you, please support the channel. Give the video a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you enjoy learning with me. Your support helps me create more long lessons like this for you. Now take a slow breath, sit comfortably, and let us begin our story. One quiet winter morning, I walked out of a tall gray building where I had worked for many years. The sky was pale. The air was cold. My breath made small white clouds in front of my face. My hands were shaking slightly. They were not shaking because of the cold. They were shaking because of fear and uncertainty. Uncertainty means not being sure about what will happen. Just a few minutes earlier, my manager had called me into his office and told me something I never expected to hear. The company was closing. There would be no more work for anyone. No warning. No preparation. Just an ending that came suddenly. I stepped outside and looked at the busy street. People were walking quickly. Cars were moving non-stop. Everyone seemed to know where they were going. Everyone had a reason to hurry. But I stood still. Inside me, everything felt empty and confusing. Confusing means difficult to understand or think about clearly. I felt like the world was moving forward while I was left behind. I walked slowly and found a small bench near a bus stop. I sat down and stared at the ground. My mind was full of heavy thoughts. I kept asking myself the same questions again and again. What will I do now? How will I pay my rent? What will happen to my life? All these thoughts made my chest feel tight. Tight means feeling pressed and uncomfortable. The street was loud, but inside me there was only silence. I felt completely alone even though I was surrounded by many people. That feeling of being alone in a crowd is a very strange feeling. As I sat there, I tried to breathe slowly. I tried to calm my heart. I placed one hand on my chest and whispered quietly to myself, "This moment will pass. This moment will not last forever." Whispered means speaking very softly and quietly. Saying those words did not change my situation, but it changed something inside me. I felt just a small drop of calm in the storm of my fear. A few minutes later, I noticed an elderly woman standing nearby. She was holding a small bag in her hand. Her hair was silver. Her face was full of soft lines made by time and life. She looked at me with kind eyes and gave me a gentle smile. Gentle means soft, kind, and careful. She slowly walked toward me and stopped in front of the bench. "Are you feeling all right, my son?" she asked in a quiet and caring voice. Her voice felt warm. Warm does not only mean temperature. It also means kind and comforting. For a moment, I did not know what to say, but something about her kindness made me open my heart. I told her the truth. I told her that I had just lost my job, that I did not know what to do next, and that I felt lost. Lost does not only mean not knowing your location. It also means not knowing your purpose or direction in life. She listened very carefully. She did not interrupt me. She only nodded slowly. Nodded means moving the head up and down to show understanding. After I finished speaking, she sat down beside me on the bench. "Many years ago," she said, "I lost everything in one single year. My home, my work, and even some people I loved." Her words surprised me. I looked at her face closely. There was no sadness in her eyes now, only calm strength. "At first," she continued, "I thought my life was over. I cried every night. I blamed myself. I blamed the world. But one day I realized that my loss was also a door. A door to a new beginning. A beginning means the start of something new." She told me that she started from nothing. She learned new skills. She worked small jobs. She failed many times. But little by little she built a new life. Little by little means slowly, step by step. "Hard times can break you," she said, "or they can shape you. The choice is yours." Her words stayed in my heart like a quiet light in a dark room. Before she left, she patted my hand and said, "Do not give up even when everything feels heavy. Life still has many pages left for you." Then she stood up and walked away into the crowd. I never learned her name. I never saw her again. But the words she gave me walked with me for the rest of my journey. As I sat alone again, I felt something new inside me. It was not happiness. It was not joy. It was determination. Determination means a strong decision to keep going no matter how difficult things become. That evening, I returned to my small apartment. The room felt quiet and empty. I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and a pen. The light above the table was yellow and soft. I took a deep breath and made a serious promise to myself. A promise means something you decide to do and commit to strongly. I wrote, "I will not give up. I will grow even if it is painful. I will try something new every week." Trying something new was frightening, but I understood that staying the same was even more frightening. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. The sky was still half dark. The city was still quiet. I made a simple cup of tea and sat near the window. I watched the light slowly enter the room as the sun rose. That morning my first small goal was very simple. I decided to go to a nearby park and read for 30 minutes. It sounded small and easy, but for me it was a big step. At the park, the air felt fresh and clean. Birds were singing. Leaves were moving in the soft wind. I opened my book and began to read. But after a few minutes, I stopped reading and started noticing the world around me. Noticing means becoming aware of small details. I noticed children playing. I noticed an old man feeding pigeons. I noticed how peaceful everything felt. And for the first time in many days, I felt something close to peace inside my own heart. When I returned home, I wrote in my notebook that I had completed my first task. It was a small victory, but it was still a victory. Victory means success after effort. This small success gave me courage. Courage means the strength to face fear. A few days later, I decided to visit an animal shelter. I wanted to do something useful for someone other than myself. At the shelter, I met many dogs and cats that had no homes. Some were scared. Some were playful. Some looked tired and lonely. A volunteer at the shelter showed me how to feed the dogs safely. At first, I felt nervous. Nervous means feeling worried and unsure. But soon, a small brown dog came near me. His eyes were gentle. He slowly placed his head on my leg while I gave him food. In that quiet moment, I felt something warm move through my chest. It was the simple power of giving and receiving care. Care means kindness and attention toward someone. That evening, I went home feeling tired but peaceful. The first night in the shared house felt quiet but unfamiliar. The walls were thin. I could hear footsteps in the hallway. I could hear soft music coming from another room. I lay on my narrow bed and stared at the ceiling, feeling both hopeful and uneasy at the same time. Uneasy means feeling uncomfortable and unsure. The next morning, I met one of my housemates in the kitchen. His name was David. He was tall, thin, and always carried a guitar case on his back. He smiled politely but did not talk much at first. During breakfast, we only exchanged a few simple words. Exchange means to give and receive something, such as words or ideas. As the days passed, we slowly began to speak more. One evening, I asked him about the guitar. His eyes lit up. That means they became bright with emotion. He told me he was a musician and played at small cafes and street corners. He said music was not only his work, but his way of breathing. His words touched something deep inside me. I admired his courage to follow what he loved, even when life was unstable and uncertain. Unstable means not steady or secure. Living in the shared house was not always easy. Sometimes there were disagreements about cleaning or noise. A disagreement means when people do not share the same opinion. Small problems appeared often, like dirty dishes in the sink or loud music late at night. At first, these things made me angry. Angry means feeling strong displeasure or frustration. But slowly, I learned how to speak calmly, how to listen, and how to compromise. Compromise means finding a middle solution where everyone gives a little and receives a little. Through these small daily struggles, I learned patience. Patience means the ability to stay calm while waiting or dealing with difficulties. After a few weeks, I found a part-time job at a small language school. Part-time means working only some hours in a week, not full-time. I was hired to teach beginner English to adults in the evening. On my first day, I stood in front of the classroom feeling nervous. My heart was beating fast. My palms were sweaty. Sweaty means wet with moisture from the body because of stress or heat. The students looked at me with curious eyes. Curious means wanting to know more, wanting to learn. I introduced myself slowly. I smiled. And little by little, my fear began to melt. To melt means to slowly disappear, like ice turning into water. Teaching felt natural to me. I enjoyed watching the moment when a student finally understood a new word or spoke a full sentence for the first time. Those moments filled me with quiet joy. Joy means a deep feeling of happiness. But life has always brought another lesson. One evening, while preparing exams, I made a serious mistake. I gave the wrong test papers to my students. The room filled with confusion. Some students looked worried. Others became frustrated. Frustrated means feeling upset because something is not working as expected. The school manager called me to her office. I felt ashamed. Ashamed means feeling bad because of your mistake. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the floor to open and swallow me. But instead of shouting, she spoke calmly. She said, "Mistakes are part of learning. What matters is how you correct them." Correct means to fix something that is wrong. The next day, I apologized to the students. I explained everything honestly. I gave them extra time. Something unexpected happened. They smiled. They thanked me. Some even said that my honesty made them trust me more. That day, I learned that respect is not born from perfection. It is born from truth. Respect means deep admiration and trust for someone. Around this time, I also became close to a woman named Julia. I met her in a cooking class that I joined once a week. She was kind, energetic, and always laughed easily. Her laughter was light, like wind passing through trees. We talked during cooking, during walks, and sometimes even late at night on the phone. She listened to my struggles. I listened to her dreams. Dreams means hopes and goals for the future. But one afternoon, she told me she was moving to another city for a new job opportunity. Opportunity means a good chance for something better. The news made my heart heavy. Heavy means full of sadness. We spent our last weekend together walking through the city. We talked about everything, about fear, about change, about the strange paths life chooses for us. When she left, my days felt quieter. I missed her deeply. Deeply means very strongly. But through this goodbye, I learned something important. I learned that some people come into our lives for a season, not forever. And that does not make the connection less meaningful. Meaningful means full of importance and emotion. There was a time when all these changes began to feel too heavy. I felt tired in my soul. Soul means the deep inner part of a person. I began questioning my strength. I wondered if I was truly strong enough to continue changing my life. Late one night, while sitting on my bed feeling hopeless, I heard a knock on my door. It was David. He invited me to join him at a small music performance at a nearby cafe. At first I refused. I wanted to be alone. But he insisted. Insisted means he continued to ask strongly. That night, the music was soft and gentle. The small cafe was full of warm light and quiet smiles. The sound of the guitar filled the room like soft waves. As I listened, I felt something inside me slowly awaken again. Awaken means to become active again after sleeping. I realized that even in dark times, beauty still exists. Pain and beauty can live in the same moment. That understanding gave me new strength. After that night, I wrote a letter to myself. In the letter, I reminded myself of everything I had survived. Survived means remained alive and strong after difficulty. I wrote that I was not weak, that I was learning. I wrote that falling does not mean failing. Falling means making mistakes. Failing means stopping completely. Slowly, I began to feel more confident in my teaching. The students began to greet me with smiles. New friendships formed naturally. And with them came a new feeling, a sense of belonging. Belonging means feeling that you are part of something. One quiet afternoon, while sitting in a small cafe and writing in my notebook, an idea appeared in my mind. The idea was simple but powerful. What if I created a free English club for people who could not afford classes? Afford means to have enough money to pay for something. The idea made my heart beat faster with excitement. I began writing plans immediately. I wrote about the lessons, the time, the space, and the people I wanted to help. I showed the plan to the school manager. She listened carefully and smiled. She supported the idea and offered us a classroom once a week. My hands trembled with happiness when she said yes. Trembled means shaking because of strong emotion. The first lesson of the English club took place on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Only 4 students came, but their eyes were full of hope. Hope means a positive expectation for the future. We started with simple greetings and daily sentences. They were shy at first. Shy means nervous and quiet around others. But soon they began speaking, laughing, and helping one another. When the class ended, I walked home through the rain with a wide smile. I felt a deep sense of purpose. Purpose means a clear reason for living and working. Week after week, more people joined the club. The classroom slowly filled with voices, stories, and dreams. We became more than just students and teacher. I wanted to organize an exhibition, a public day where students could show their progress to their families and friends. The planning was difficult. There were many details, many tasks, many worries. Some nights I felt overwhelmed again. Overwhelmed means feeling buried under too many responsibilities. But each problem was solved little by little with teamwork. Teamwork means working together to reach a goal. When the day of the exhibition arrived, the room was full of excitement and anticipation. Anticipation means a happy feeling of waiting for something to happen. Students gave short speeches, read stories, and performed small plays. Their families watched with pride in their eyes. Pride means deep happiness in someone's achievement. As I watched the scene, my eyes filled with tears. Those were not tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude. Gratitude means a deep feeling of thankfulness. Weeks later, a letter arrived for me. It was from the Ministry of Education. They invited me to speak at a large conference about adult learning. When I read the letter, my hands began to shake. Fear and excitement mixed inside me. The day of the conference came quickly. The hall was huge. Hundreds of faces looked at me. My throat felt dry. Dry means lacking moisture, often because of nervousness. I took a deep breath and began to speak. I spoke about loss. I spoke about fear. I spoke about learning, community, and second chances. When I finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then the applause began. Applause means people clapping their hands to show respect. At that moment, I understood something deeply. The job I had once lost was not the end. It was the beginning of a path I never imagined. As I stood on that stage, I felt proud not because of success but because I had not given up. And that, I realized, was my greatest achievement. After the conference, my life began to move in new and unexpected directions. People from different schools started calling me. Some invited me to speak to their students. Others asked about how to start free learning programs in their own communities. At first, all this attention made me feel shy and unsure. Unsure means not confident about what to do. I often wondered if I truly deserved this recognition. Recognition means being noticed and appreciated for your work. But every time doubt appeared, I remembered where I started. sitting on a cold bench at the bus stop with no job and no clear future. Remembering that moment helped me stay humble and grateful. Humble means not thinking you are better than others. Grateful means thankful. The English club continued to grow. We needed more chairs, more books, more whiteboards. Some students donated old notebooks. Others helped clean the room every week. Everyone gave what they could. It was not about money. It was about care. Care means kindness, attention, and support. One evening after class, a quiet student named Raheem stayed behind. He was always silent in class and rarely spoke. That day he looked nervous but determined. He told me that because of the club, he had applied for his first job at a hotel. He said he was scared but hopeful. Hopeful means believing that something good may happen. 2 weeks later, he returned with a wide smile and shining eyes. He had gotten the job. The whole class celebrated with applause and laughter. That moment reminded me again why this work mattered so much. Matters means is important and meaningful. But growth always comes with difficulties. As the club became more popular, some people began to criticize it. Criticize means to say negative things about something. They said the lessons were too simple. They said free education had less value. They said people would not take it seriously. At first, these words hurt me deeply. Hurt means causing emotional pain. I began to question myself again. Once more, doubt crept quietly into my heart. Crept means moved in slowly and silently. One night, I sat alone in my room and read the old letter I had written to myself. I read every line slowly. The words felt like calm hands on my shoulders. They reminded me that I had already survived much worse than criticism. The next day, I decided something important. I would not change my path because of fear. I would not stop because of noise from outside. I would continue with honesty and patience. Patience means the ability to stay calm and steady over time. Around this period, David, my housemate, faced his own struggles. One evening, he came home quietly and sat in the kitchen without speaking. I noticed his hands were shaking. Something was wrong. He told me that the cafe where he played music had closed. It was his main source of income. Source means the place where something comes from. For him, it was where his money came from. He felt lost just as I once had felt lost. This time, our roles were different. Now it was my turn to listen. I made him tea. We sat in silence for a while. Silence means no sound. But it was not an empty silence. It was full of understanding. I told him my story again, about the bench, the old woman, the shelter, the club. I told him that losing one door does not mean losing all doors. Sometimes life only closes one door to guide you toward another. Slowly he began to believe again. A few weeks later, he started teaching music to children at a community center. His smile returned. And through helping him, I realized something beautiful. When we lift others, we lift ourselves too. Lift means to raise, to help rise. Life moved forward with a quiet rhythm. Rhythm means a regular pattern of movement or sound. My days were now filled with teaching, planning, and learning. But even with all this activity, some nights were still heavy with loneliness. Loneliness means the feeling of being alone and disconnected. On one such night, I sat by my window and watched the city lights shimmer in the darkness. Shimmer means to shine softly. I thought about Julia. I wondered how her new life was going. I missed our long talks and shared laughter. For a moment, sadness returned. But instead of letting it drown me, I wrote her a short message wishing her well. When she replied, I felt warmth in my heart. Warmth means comfort and kindness, not just heat. I learned then that distance does not always end connection. Sometimes connection simply changes shape. One morning, I received an email from a former student of the language school. She wrote to tell me that she had passed an international exam and was now preparing to study abroad. Abroad means in another country. She thanked me for believing in her when she did not believe in herself. Her message moved me deeply. Moved means touched emotionally. I realized that even small words can travel far and change lives. As the English club became stronger, I began to train a few students to help teach beginners. Train means to teach someone how to do a skill. At first, they doubted themselves. But with time, they became confident leaders for new learners. Leadership means the ability to guide and inspire others. One day, while arranging chairs before class, I felt sudden pain in my chest. The pain was sharp. Sharp means strong and sudden. I tried to ignore it, but it grew worse. I became dizzy and had to sit down. Dizzy means feeling like the world is spinning. A student quickly called for help. I was taken to the hospital. The doctor said the pain was caused by extreme stress and exhaustion. Exhaustion means deep tiredness. My body had been carrying too much without enough rest. The doctor told me something I did not want to hear. He said I had to slow down. Slow down means reduce activity and rest more. If I did not, my health could become much worse. For the first time in many years, I was forced to stop. I stayed in my room for several days. I felt weak, not only in my body but also in my spirit. Spirit means the inner energy of a person. Without classes and plans, the silence felt strange again. But this time I learned something new from it. I learned that rest is not weakness. Rest is part of strength. Strength means power and resilience. Resilience means the ability to recover after difficulty. During those quiet days, some students from the club came to visit me. They brought homemade food, cards, and kind words. Their kindness filled the empty space in my heart. Kindness means gentle care and goodness toward others. When I returned to teaching, I changed the way I worked. I delegated tasks to others. Delegate means to give responsibility to another person. I learned to trust and to share the burden. Burden means a heavy responsibility. Sharing the burden did not weaken the club. It made it stronger. It became a true collective effort. Collective means done together by many people. Around this time, I was invited to help design a small adult literacy program in a nearby village. Literacy means the ability to read and write. Many adults in that village had never gone to school. They felt ashamed of their situation. Ashamed means feeling bad because you think you are not good enough. The first day I visited the village, the classroom was full of nervous faces. Some learners were elderly. Elderly means old. Some were young. All of them carried years of hidden fear about learning. I began with the simplest lesson, writing their own names. When the first woman finished writing her name for the very first time, tears rolled down her face. Rolled means moved smoothly in a direction. She said, "Now I exist on paper." Her words broke my heart and healed it at the same time. Heal means to make something better after pain. That day, I understood in a deeper way that education is not only about language. It is about dignity. Dignity means the feeling of self-respect and worth. Months passed. Seasons changed. The air grew colder and then warmer again. The English club, the village program, and the language school all became part of one connected life. My life. But even in the middle of growth, life prepared another test for me. One morning, I received a call from my hometown. My father had fallen seriously ill. Ill means sick. I felt fear rush through my body like cold water. Without thinking twice, I packed a small bag and traveled back home. During the long journey, my heart felt heavy with anxiety. Anxiety means strong worry and fear about the future. When I arrived, my mother's eyes were filled with worry. My father lay quietly on the bed, looking smaller and weaker than I remembered. The doctors said his condition was serious but stable. Stable means not changing quickly for better or worse. I stayed by his side day and night. I fed him. I helped him sit. I listened to his soft breathing. In those quiet moments, I realized how much time I had lost by being far away. But I also realized that being present now mattered more than regrets. Regrets means feeling sad about something you wish you had done differently. One night, as he slowly opened his eyes, he looked at me and smiled. He held my hand with a weak but warm grip. Grip means a firm hold. He whispered, "I am proud of you." Those 4 words became one of the strongest medicines for my heart. Medicine does not only heal the body. Sometimes it heals the soul. After several weeks, my father slowly began to recover. Recover means to become healthy again. When I returned to the city, I carried with me not only relief but also a deeper sense of responsibility. Responsibility means the duty to take care of something or someone. I returned to my work with a calmer mind and a clearer heart. I was no longer only chasing change. I was learning to balance change with peace. Balance means keeping different parts of life in harmony. And slowly I began to understand that true growth is not loud. True growth is quiet. It moves softly inside you, shaping you day by day without noise. If you enjoyed this episode, please listen again and shadow the sentences. Slowly. Try to repeat the new words and think about their meaning in your own life. Every time you listen, your English will grow stronger and clearer. And if this story helped you, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who is also learning English. I'm Noyan, and until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep believing in yourself. Bye for now. Down.